Welcome to the Made in the Shade channel. My name is Jonathan, and I'm going to show you how to make these cool tiki signs. I'm going to do it here in the shade, this nice little spot that I found near the water in South Florida. A little bit of privacy, a little bit of shade, great spot to make some signs. Alright, let's get into it. Truck's usually full, so I usually got to take some stuff out to get to the paint and the materials that I'm going to use. Today I'm going to be using my favorite material for making the outdoor tiki signs, which is fence wood. Old fence wood is pressure treated, but it's been up long enough to let it dry, get light, easy to break, easy to sand, but it's going to be weather resistant, insect resistant, and durable. This is what the pieces look like after I remove them from a fence panel. I try not to break them too much as I'm removing them. It gives me more options of where to break them as I see the shape of the wood and what's going to be better for me. They do have some nails in them. When you pull these off, the nails sometimes will pull through and stay in the 2x4. Sometimes they'll stay in the piece that you want to use. You can break them with the nails in them, but you'll lose a lot of them on the ground, and then you'll either have to clean them up or be responsible, clean them up. So I just use a nice good east wing hammer. It's comfortable in my hand, and you'll have some bent nails that you got to straighten out, but basically you're just tapping them out from the bottom and getting those nails to show enough head on the other side so that you can pull them out with the hammer. Go ahead and speed up here, just show you what it might take to get the nails out of a few pieces. A little bit of a close-up here, and yeah, you just got to tap them out so that you have a head on the other side. Sometimes when you're tapping them out, they pop out, hit the ground. Try to pick those up right away. I also use a magnet to pick up any nails that may hit the ground. You saw there, I picked one up there. Yeah, some will be bent. You straighten them out and just get all the nails out of the pieces that you're going to be working with. I actually find it kind of fun to get the nails out. It doesn't take that long, and it's fairly easy to do. I like using my tailgate as a table. It's a little low, but it's very sturdy. It's a lot better than what I use for an adjustable table a lot is a ironing board. I found a sturdy one that I love, and I'll be using it in this project. But the tailgate's a little more sturdy for this part of the process. Go ahead and pick up what nails. Looks like we only had one underneath there that got away. That we can with the magnet. And then also sometimes you're going to have nails, like you look at this bunch here, there's going to be nails that are not magnetic, non-ferrous. Every now and then there's one or two of those in there. There's one right there. It won't stick to the magnet because it doesn't have enough iron in whatever metal it is. Sometimes it's stainless steel, sometimes it's aluminum. So I like to use either my bumper, or I'll set something on the ground that'll lift up one end of the board a little bit. And like I said, this wood that you get from the old fences, it's usually dried out pretty good so that you can just snap it with your foot. What I do is I try to find a spot in there, like I'm pointing at there, where the knots are, or maybe you get some kind of a natural break to help give it a funky end. And so we're going to go ahead and break up the rest of the pieces that we have with us today. And then we're going to select about 4 of them, and we'll use those 4 to show you how we prepare them and paint them into the tiki signs. So again, I like using the tailgate because it's pretty sturdy, and I can get the edge of the wood right to the edge of the tailgate. And if I don't miss the first time like I did there, it usually just pops a nice piece off, and then it follows the grain on that side to give a curvy edge to the piece of wood, so it's not a straight edge piece of fence wood. And if the piece didn't break off on the end from the breaking process where I was stomping on it, I'll go ahead and break the end off at this point with the hammer to give it a funky end. You see that one just broke right there where there was a knot. It was so it kind of naturally followed the wood, got a nice edge off that side. Hopefully get a nice thin one off this side. There we go. There's a nice piece of wood. That makes a nice sign right there. All right, so when you don't have a place to plug in, I have a battery-powered grinder that I like to use, a 4.5-inch angle grinder. I do have the safety guard on there. You should wear safety glasses, and also you want to wear some sort of respirator or dust mask. No wood dust is really good for you, so you want to avoid that. With this grinder, I like to get the edges where they're sharp, and I like to knock them down smooth so that it gives it more of like a driftwood or found wood feel to it. Excuse me. So yeah, you just want to get that nice and smooth out the ends. Use that grinder there, and one thing I do like about the battery-powered grinder, it's a little bit lower of an RPM than a regular 4.5-inch angle grinder that does not have variable speed. This one doesn't have variable speed either, but it has a lower RPM, and it's a little bit more comfortable to work with at this stage of cleaning up the boards and shaping them up. So there's a nice smooth board. That I just use the angle grinder. Sometimes you might want to go ahead and use a sander and get it a little bit smoother with that too, if you're not happy with how smooth the edge is, or if you left grinder marks from the grinding pad. I like to use around a 60 grit pad. It's aggressive, but you're able to use it lightly and not leave a bunch of grinder marks with it. So on this one here, it's got kind of a funky end. I'm trying to smooth it out. We've sped up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and knock out 4 of these signs, 4 of these blanks, because that's what I'm going to use to show you how I tape them. You do have to be a little bit careful during this process. It is an angle grinder, and it can bite you. Use all the safety measures they suggest to use. You probably want to wear gloves too, which you see I'm not wearing gloves. Don't do that. That's the wrong thing to do. You're taking a chance injuring yourself. Wear some good gloves. Showing a little close-up here of the angle grinder at work. It not only on the smooth part cleans it up, but it also it gets all that oxidized wood off of there and roughs it a little bit for the paint to stick to. It's just going to stick a lot better if you clean that up with the grinder than if you just left that oxidized wood and dirt on there. So the angle grinder is not just to shape it, but also to clean it up as well. And then you want to get those ends nice and smooth. You don't want to be able to feel anything sharp on there, because not only just for the feel of it, which doesn't really matter, but it's the look of it. You want it to be nice and smooth. Alright, so we got those 4 blanks all shaped out, smoothed out, cleaned up. We're going to take some some water-based primer. I like to use white because I use a lot of bright colors, and I really want that. I want that bright colors to really shine out. So what I usually do is I put the first coat of primer on, and I really, I get a lot on the sides. I'm not worried about getting every little piece of the sides, uh, but you want to get some primer on the sides because you'll have some color. Sometimes it goes down there, but it's not something you really want to worry about whether or not everything is painted perfectly. They're not supposed to be perfect. It's a rustic kind of look, so you don't have to be perfect on it. And so you get a nice good coat of the first coat of primer on there. And once those have dried, you just check it with your hand. If you don't come up with more paint than you already had there, it's dry enough to put another coat on. And on this one, you really don't have to be as much worried about the sides as last time at all. You're really just trying to get a nice thicker coat on that top part where you're going to be painting and lettering. It helps give you a nice smooth surface, a nice bright surface to paint on, and it just works out a lot better if you put 2 coats of primer on there. So when you're out on the road, you just got to find somewhere to get yourself some water. If you got to buy a couple gallons, you're going to buy a couple gallons. I went and found that hose at the marina over by the water, and they were happy to let me have a bucket full and use that to wash out my brushes. So I'm showing you here on this first one, it's what I call a conch color combination. Most of my background colors are some sort of fade of 1, 2, 3, 4 different colors. The only colors you need to have with you to make all the colors is red, yellow, blue, black, and white. With those colors, you can pretty much mix yourself any kind of turquoise and purple and whatever else you might want to make. So you just need those five colors. I usually have a bunch of white with me. I'm using the white that I have in the primer can for my white on this. I'm using tubes of blue, red, and yellow. I hope that's what I said before. Blue, red, yellow, black, and white. That's all you really need. You can buy bigger tubes, you can buy cans of it, small tubes, whatever works best for you. So I put the yellow on the top, and then I put white from the yellow down on there. Put a little red on the bottom and a little red on the top. And what that did is it gave me a nice pink area on the bottom and a yellowy orange area on the top. When I hit my dry brush across there, as you see, you got like a nice Caribbean conch color there. Looks like the inside of a conch shell. So here's how we wash the brushes with the bucket of water. I'm using a 5-gallon bucket. I dip it in there and try to get as much paint off of it as I can. And you see me slapping it on the sides of the bucket. That just helps get the excess water out of there. I usually get it all over myself and my truck too, so I try to stay away from anywhere that it's going to be a problem on the ground, somewhere that it's not going to get on anything anybody's going to care about. But you don't want to leave too much of a mess either, so try not to get that paint all over the place. So here we spread out a little bit of yellow, and then we're going to put some white in the middle. Spread that yellow out from the white towards the edges. Then we're able to add a little dot of red on both ends. And what that'll do is that'll give that some orange to make sort of a sunburst. So then I'm going to go back and hit it with that dry brush again to blend it in a little bit. And that gives us that sunburst color blank. On this next blank, we're going to go with what I call mahi. Spread out some yellow, put some blue on the top, and then blend that blue down so it kind of goes from a blue, green, yellow fade, and it looks like a mahi-mahi or a dolphin fish. People like that color. I put a little bit of white on my dry brush, so not technically a dry brush. I blended a little white in there while I was blending that color. It gives it a little bit lighter effect. It makes for a nicer sign. Now this one, we're going to go ahead and put the yellow all the way across the board, and we're going to add a little bit of blue to each end. It's going to give us a green, so that yellow mixes with the green. I call it a limon color, and a little whitish blue in the middle just to give it a little extra color fade. Now you remember this was our conch blank. This is the one I'm going to start with showing you the lettering and how I use the lettering brush to put the words on there. I've got a little bag. It's got all my brushes. I like to use a soft grip brush. It's a brand. And I use a filbert for the lettering, and I have sizes usually from 2 to 8, 2, 4, and 6 being my most commonly used one. And you can see that I put my black paint in a little cup, then I have my water in another little cup, and I dip my brush in the water and back into the black paint to get the consistency where I can brush the lettering on smoothly without it being too watery. If you make it too watery, you're going to get drips. It's going to run. Even if it's flat, it's going to drip and run. So you just want to get it just wet enough to where it goes on smoothly with one stroke. So that way it's easier to put it on there. It's kind of like you're writing. And the way I write it on there, I try to do a funky style. I call it, I call it drunk Bahamian. And that way, if I make a mistake, I don't have to draw the letters perfectly. I'm not constricted to not making them perfect. I like to have them look a little funky, and making a mistake is just going to make it look more like the way that I want it to look. And it adds a little bit of fun to it, and people seem to like it. So on this one, I chose one of the sayings that is most popular, one of the ones I sell most often. And on these 4 that I'm showing you, I'm going to be doing some of the ones that are the best sellers. You'll notice it does have a naughty word in it, but I try to stay away from the really naughty words. I try to use the more soft ones. People like it. They think it's fun. They buy them more often, and they don't seem to be offended about it being around the entire family. They're not the bad words. They're just the fun ones. So you see that I've got this one all lettered up, make a couple of touch-ups. Then I'm going to speed up the video through the next 3 signs, and just to show you what it takes to get that lettering on there. A little bit of touch-up. All right. So you want to set that aside flat so that it dries without dripping, because even though you got that paint in the right consistency to write with, that's while it's flat. You don't want to have them standing up on their side. You might get a drip or 2 that you didn't mean to get. I'm just going to go ahead and letter this one out. Another fun one, also one of the top sellers. So there's that. Yeah, you see my paint cans open back there. My primer can. Not only should it not be open, it shouldn't be sitting there. You knock that off of there, and it's quite a mess. You want to seal that back up and get it somewhere safe. You're not going to knock it or drop it off of something and create a big mess. Because if you were on somebody's driveway or in a parking lot somewhere, that would really be some trouble. So we got this one that I said that we painted a lemon color, and We're going to go ahead and letter that one out. Show you how that color looks with the black letters on it. Now, I do brightly colored signs mostly with black letters. And two reasons for that. The brightly colored signs look really good with the black letters. You can see the lettering very well. And not only that, the black is the easiest one to get done in one coat. You start using white letters and different colors over the top of other colors, and you'll have to put a few coats of the color on there. So it's not a no-go. It's not something that you don't want to do. It can be useful to do different color letters. But this black just comes out better in one coat, and it just really looks good. It's something that the people who I sell them to seem to like. I seem to like them as well. Here's the final product. I hope you can do this yourself at home. It's loads of fun. Be careful with that angle grinder. Find yourself some nice shade and get it made in the shade. So my name's Jonathan for Made in the Shade channel, and this is how I make the tiki signs. I'm going to go ahead and get everything packed up, my ironing board and all the other junk, get that stuff into the car, and that'll be it. Have a great day.